Now, when it comes to music, it's the song and the artist that we tend to remember. But a new film about the man behind one of the biggest hits of the 60s is about to hit cinema.
Yes, it's called Telstar. It's the story of the music producer Joe Meek, who masterminded the first British song to top the American charts for the band The Tornadoes.
And the film is directed by Nick Moran and stars Kevin Spacey. And our next guest, Ralph Little, plays one of the Tornadoes band members, and Pam Ferris plays Joe Meek's landlady. Before we talk to Ralph and Pam, let's take a look at the film.
The Tornadoes! Keeping Elvis off the top spot is Billy Fury's backing band, in at #1 with Telstar.
I've got the biggest picture for a reason. Yeah, it's because you see our frontal band, right?
I understand that part of today's press conference is being relayed by the Telstar communications satellite.
I suppose you'll be moving out now, onwards and upwards. God only knows I'm going to let that place again.
No, I don't think I'll be going anywhere just yet. Truth is, I've made a little home here.
Well, we're just talking about the film now. Pam and Ralph both here. Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
What an extraordinary film this is, because I felt like I was on a massive learning curve.
Yes.
About, you know, a part of the music. I knew the songs, you know, they're familiar songs. Didn't really know the story of Joe Meek. Well, he was an extraordinary creation. How would you describe him for people who kind of didn't know?
Well, he was a farm boy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a country
originally.
boy.
But he had such an intense interest in music. He was an innovator, and I think he created a whole kind of springboard for British rock. He was incredibly influential.
It wasn't just so much the music either. It was he was fascinated by sound, and he was a man who, you know, in that era in the 50s, if you want to now if you want a sound effect and reverb and electronic kind of noises on music, you just press a button on a special effects keyboard. He actually built huge machines to be able to achieve all that.
And all that in his little tiny
and all that,
flat.
yeah.
Of which you were the well, you play the landlady.
Yes, and not me personally,
No.
Mrs. Shelton. Mrs. Shelton was, had Shelton's handbags downstairs, so when they were recording things, the Honeycombs, for instance, were stamping on the floor to make the rhythm, which was the technique he used, just stamping, the ceiling starts to come down and filter into the handbag shop, so...
He was such a maverick as well, Joe Meek, and such a character that he'd do. His recording studio would be in his little flat, and the backing singer, he'd have her in the tiny little toilet on the second floor. And they're like, what's she doing in there? He's like, I like the acoustics better in there, so that's where she's going to sing. It's brilliant. And he'd have people dropping marbles into a toilet bowl to make it a special effect. I mean, he was a genius.
One of the interesting things about the film is right at the end there are captions, and it's actually one of the most moving parts of the film. What happens to everybody afterwards? But one of the surprising things is the character that you play, Ralph. Chaz Hodges,
Chaz Hodges,
and he's a guitar player in the band originally. He went on to become one half of Chaz and Dave.
I know.
Right,
it's
and
wonderful.
Chaz is in it.
And Chaz Hodges, the real Chaz Hodges, is in the film as well.
So tell us about what Chaz was doing then, how you played him, and how you got to know Chaz.
It is all, you know,
himself.
It's all true. Obviously, there's a little artistic license in there, but it's mainly, certainly, all the major events are true, and people's accounts match up with what happens. And I think Nick Moran had to be very careful because Joe Meek and this whole story means a lot to a lot of people, so he couldn't tamper with it and just you know, take bits out and put them in without checking the validity of them. But Chaz, as it turns out, was a session musician, and he worked for Joe Meek, and he played in the Outlaws, and he played a lot. And I'd seen the play Telstar, but of course at the end of a play you don't have captions that say so-and-so went on to become this and so. So I had no idea. So then when I read the film script at the end and it went, Chaz went on to become one half of Chaz and Dave, I was like, no way!
And it does tie it all together, doesn't it, in a way? Because a lot of these characters went on to great things in the music industry. We can see a clip now with your character talking to Joe about things going awry and his behaviour. Let's have a look.
It's paranoia. He's just being careful. He's just being mental. No one is spying on him. It's all in his head.
My idea is somehow ending up on the wireless.
You think someone's stealing tapes?
Or worse.
My point is, no one's back in the place, are they? It's just making everyone else as paranoid as he is.
Yes, now, Pam, there is very much two lines to the film, isn't there? There's kind of the joy of the innocence of the time and the music that was knocking around, the fun people are having. At the same time, you've got this man melting down, effectively, and in the end, killing himself.
Exactly. I think it straddles that line between really serious drama and comedy brilliantly. I love that knife edge, that you're just suddenly tip into something serious from comedy. And I think that Nick Moran's managed that brilliantly with his editing and his direction.
Yeah, and Ralph, I mean, this film is full of surprises. The credits are full of surprises.
Aren't they?
Nick Moran, I mean, I thought, I know that name. Nick Moran is an actor who was in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, and he's produced this brilliant film. I mean, he's still so young.
Yeah, well, he wrote the first draft of Telstar as a play before he even got into Lock, Stock, so it's been a real passion project of his for years. And I think you can tell, like, his attention to detail is so devoted to the whole thing, from writing it to directing it, and editing it right the way through. And I think you can tell that his kind of care and dedication really shows, because, as Pam says, it's really difficult to kind of walk that fine line and have something that's genuinely can move to being quite dark and then still be funny, and that's not an easy path to take. But I think he's hit it spot on.
And we should say Connor Neal, who plays Joe Meek, does just a brilliant,
amazing performance.
job as well.
Amazing performance.
Stunning.
I think there's an Oscar in there for Connor. I bet it had be. There's got to be a nomination at least. Yeah. The campaign begins here.
Yeah. Nice to see you here this morning. Thank you very much.
Oh, great pleasure.
It is a very interesting film.
It tells a really untold story, doesn't it?
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Lovely to see you.